What's up, everyone? This is Donald from ComputeHub. We're a public cloud computing provider with a focus on low cost, easy to use CPU and GPU computing and infrastructure as a service. Today I'm going to show you how to install and configure PuTTy on the basic level. What is PuTTy? It's a terminal emulator that I personally love to use for SSHing into cloud computing servers or virtual machines. So yeah, I just want to go through how to install it, do a basic config. I'm not a computer programmer, so I don't know the super in-depth configuration settings, but I know enough to be able to get in and use it at a basic level. So that's what we're going to go ahead and go through today. Before we get started, if you haven't checked out our platform, ComputeHub, go to our website, which is linked in the description below, to learn a little bit more about us. And we do offer a free sign up bonus credit to all new users to allow you to use our platform for no obligations to start out. So we'll go ahead and get started. So from your favorite browser, you can go ahead and Google PuTTy to find where to download it, and it should be the first thing that pops up. So go ahead and click here. You want to go ahead and click download PuTTy. So go ahead and click this link, and you'll be taken to this .uk page where the download is. It looks questionable, but I've gone here multiple times and downloaded it, never had an issue. So go ahead and download the version of the installer that you want. Now I'm using Windows, so I'm going to go ahead and get the 64-bit download, and it'll go ahead and bring it up. From here, we're going to go ahead and start the installing process. Go ahead next. Choose a location. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in program files. And you can pick the features you want. I usually just leave it on the generic product features and go ahead and click install. All right. And that's it. Now it should be downloaded. Let's go ahead and look at see if we can find it. There it is. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it to my taskbar just so it's down here. Do that by right clicking and then pin to taskbar. So now I'll go through how to basically do a simple config of PuTTy and some of the features that I use for SSHing into my virtual machine. So before we get started, you will need a SSH key pair from whatever platform you're using, whether you're using our platform or another platform or hosting your own server, your own virtual machine. You're going to need that. You're going to need that key. Now, if you want to get it from our ComputeHub platform, I have another video made. I will link in the description below on how to pull the keys from the ComputeHub platform to be used in PuTTy. For this example, I already have my private key saved here. Typically, I have it here on the dashboard, but typically on computers where I'll put it is within the PC. If you go to local drive, users, and then go to the username for your computer, and then I usually save it in a .ssh file here. You might need to create it yourself, or it might already exist on your computer. And you'll see here's this SSH key pair right here. So you're going to need to create a special private key within PuTTy to use PuTTy. If you try to use the one just generated from your computer or from ComputeHub, it won't work. So you're going to go ahead and go find this program that's installed with PuTTy called PuTTyGen. And you'll see if you just search it in your taskbar, you'll see it come up here as PuTTyGen. So I'm going to go ahead and open this app. Now, you can also use PuTTyKeyGen to generate key pairs, but if you already have yours, you can use it also to create that special PuTTy private key. So here's the option for that: load an existing private key pair. So I'm going to click load. And you're going to go ahead and find where your private key is that you want to create into the PuTTy private key. So I'm going to go to users, go into .sh, and you'll notice that when you're looking for it, it's looking for that specific .ppk PuTTy private key file type, and obviously we haven't created that yet. So to find the one that you want to use, you're going to have to change the file type to all files, and you'll see the key pair or the key that you'll want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and click it here, and it'll say successfully imported. And then you're going to click save private key. And it'll ask you if you want to save this private key. Now you can add a passphrase if you want to your private key up here, but you don't have to. I typically don't. And from here, it'll ask you to save the private key, and you'll see that it's going to save it as that .ppk file. And typically, I just name it the same thing as my other key because they'll show up differently because they're different file types. So I'll go ahead and save. And now we're done with that piece of PuTTy key gen. So I'm going to close that, and now I'm going to open up the actual PuTTy platform. So I'm going to go ahead and open it here. This is the basic first screen that you'll see whenever you open PuTTy, including the host name where you'll put the IP address, any saved configurations that you'll have, along with all of your navigation to do any more specific configuration here. So the first thing we'll need to do is, if you haven't done this already, you'll need to make sure that your virtual machine is allowing SSH into it from a security and firewall perspective. If you're hosting on our ComputeHub platform, there'll be a video that I'll link in the description below on how to set up and configure your firewall to allow SSH. If you're using another platform, you just want to make sure that you know which ports you've opened. Typically port 22 is used for SSH, and that'll be where you'll change it here in the PuTTy configuration. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the IP address of the server I want to SSH into. If you're using our ComputeHub platform, you can find it within here, within instances. Go to NICs, and you'll see public IP addresses. So I'm going to go ahead and use this public IP. If you're not using our platform, you'll have to go ahead and find the public IP being used from whatever platform that you're using. And again, we're using port 22. That's the port I've opened. That's the port that's typically used for SSH. Connection type, you want to leave as SSH. And now to bring in your key pair, you're going to go ahead and over here click on SSH and click the little plus sign here, and then click on auth. And right here is where you're going to put in your private key. So I'm going to go ahead and click browse, go back to this .sh file, and you should see your PuTTy generated key here. So I'll go ahead and put that there. And one last thing you may want to do, you don't have to do this, but if you want to save this configuration so that you don't have to redo this each time, you can do a save session. So you can type in what you want to name it and click save, and then it'll show up on this list each time. So anytime you open PuTTy, you can click on that save session and click load, and it'll pull up the host name that you brought in, as well as it'll remember your SSH key. So once you're ready to open it up, go ahead and click open. And you may get a first time notification that pops up. Go ahead and select OK. Once you're in here, you're going to log in as your username. If you're using the ComputeHub platform, the username's Ubuntu, and it'll authenticate your public key, your private key, and boom, you're in. So from here, you can go ahead and do what you need to do inside your virtual machine, and you're ready to go. And once you're using PuTTy in the future, you'll be able to easily spin it up and get in there without any hiccups. So that's a basic PuTTy config. Of course, there's more things you can do within PuTTy, but from a basic side, that's really all it takes. So thanks again for watching, and check out our other videos for more tips and tricks on how to use our ComputeHub platform as well as other cloud computing.